Good morning, my beloved students. How are you today? Our reading lesson is about Hubble telescope and 25 years of unveiling the universe. We will explore together how this telescope faced a variety of troubles and problems in its mission to explore the outer space and to go beyond these troubles and start to put an end to all these kind of problems, and how it really had a great effect on exploring new ideas and new things that the scientists didn't really notice at all. We will start with a video and then go to the reading passage. Okay, get ready. Are you ready? Okay, great.
Turns 25 Friday. In its quarter century in orbit, it's given us some of the best views we have of the observable universe. Hubble takes its name from astronomer and cosmologist Edwin Hubble, whose research helped build our understanding of the universe beyond our home Milky Way galaxy. It operates like any other optical reflector telescope, just scaled up and orbiting at 343 miles overhead. A primary mirror nearly 8 feet across captures light from billions of light years away and feeds it into 6 sensors, which between them measure visible, ultraviolet, and infrared light. The telescope uses reaction wheels and gyroscopes to orient itself with extreme precision. If Hubble were a laser pointer, it would be able to light up a dime 200 miles away. Hubble launched aboard Space Shuttle Discovery in April 1990. But once it powered up in orbit, Hubble almost immediately showed trouble with its primary mirror. The glass had been ground incorrectly, and anything astronomers pointed Hubble at came out blurred. It was better than ground-based imaging, but not as sharp as they'd expected. So the first maintenance mission to Hubble corrected the mirror with specialized hardware, space glasses, basically. The results were as striking as any visit to the optometrist. Hubble would get 4 more service missions to upgrade and expand its cameras, replace stabilizing gyroscopes, and install new computers for faster image processing. Since the last maintenance flight in 2009, Hubble has been running smoothly. And to date, for clear, visible light images of distant cosmic objects, there's basically no better instrument in science. Hubble has the best vantage point on or off the planet. From above the interference of Earth's atmosphere, it's captured some of the most detailed visible light images ever recorded. Hubble effectively looks into the past. Its deep field projects capture light that is billions of years old. Scientists use the data to track the age and development of the visible universe and its rate of expansion. On a smaller scale, Hubble has discovered and tracked planets outside the solar system, such as this first ever visible light image of an extrasolar planet, known as Fomalhaut b. Hubble's detectors can spot clues in the spectral emissions of such planets to tell scientists what they're made of. Along the way, it's generated iconic real-color images of distant nebulae, dense star clusters, and nearby neighbors. Scientists have used Hubble to watch the rare impact of comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 on Jupiter and to capture high-resolution images of our own moon. One of the few things Hubble isn't suited for is looking back at Earth, which is orbiting at 5 miles per second. Even with its fastest cameras, all it would see is Earth-colored blur. Astronomers at the Space Telescope Science Institute hold Hubble up as one of the most useful astronomy installations ever built, not to mention one of the most prolific. Scientists have published more than 10,000 articles based on Hubble data and images. And for the moment, not even Hubble can see an end to the science it will enable. There's no concrete end date for Hubble operations. Officials have said they'll keep it running as long as economically feasible, or until something breaks. Hubble's scientific successor, the James Webb Space Telescope, is slated to launch in October 2018. For Newsy, I'm Catherine Beek.
Okay, this would suggest that the Hubble telescope give us and gives the scientists a great amount of pictures and images that really made them much more able into exploring the universe into more detail and to have a comprehensive overview for the world. Okay, against all odds, it's 25 years in space and counting for the Hubble Space Telescope this month. Few icons of science have had such a risky existence. The telescope survived political storms, physical disasters, and the simple passage of time in the surface of cosmic exploration. So it didn't care about the political problem that were like the fighting between the two parties and the disasters and catastrophes that happen. The telescope survived all these troubles, and it was able to go in its own successful direction. In 1946, the astronomer Lyman Spitzer had a dream. A telescope in space would be above the unruly atmosphere. It would be able to see the stars, unaffected by the storms that blur them and make them twinkle. It would be able to see the ultraviolet and infrared discharges blocked by the atmosphere and invisible to astronomers on the ground. So these are great missions, great things the Hubble can do. Took more than 30 years for the rest of the astronomy community. So the scientists and the people working in this field took longer time. So the people working in this field are always like having the NASA as its own center, and Congress, like Congress, mean to gather, to speak together to find the how to achieve their dream, and Congress to buy into this dream. It was done as a way to showcase the abilities of the space shuttle. So this like a kind of pride for having this great dream and achieving it and sending it into space to get more information, which was still being developed then, and the ability of astronauts to be able to work routinely in space. By the time the telescope was sent into space from the Space Shuttle Discovery on April 25, 1999, 1990, had been almost cancelled at least twice. So, like at the beginning, it was not so lucky enough, but with the passing of days, it became much more luckier. It had also been delayed following the explosion of the shuttle Challenger in 1986. So when the shuttle Challenger exploded, really this was horrific accident, and the people were horrified and they were scared and they were like not willing to send more spacecrafts into space. Okay, but when the Hubble was finally placed in space, NASA's publicities were instantly at the top of their game. So they started to focus on the Hubble, and they were like having great dream for it. They hailed it as the greatest advance in astronomy since Galileo, and it might have been, except for one problem. So we have to add one more problem to the challenges that the Hubble was facing. They couldn't focus the telescope, so this is a big problem because they cannot see anything clearly, and it will not be so obvious for them. So within days, it became a laughing stock, a techno turkey, said some critics. So like they were scared really. The Hubble would face the same challenges and would face the same trouble that the previous telescopes faced before. Okay, Hubble had an 8-foot mirror designed using spy satellite technology. So the foot mirror it had like they were 8, and they were depending on the high level of spying satellite technology. The mirror was just small enough to fit into the space shuttle cargo bay, so this would mean that they need to maximize the size of the telescope to and the mirror to fit the space shuttle cargo bay. But because of a measuring error during the testing process that had been hurried to save money, that big mirror ended up out of shape, so it was useless. So when you do an experiment, you need to spend much money to make sure that you're following the high standards. It was polished for millions of an inch too flat, so that the telescope now had blurry vision, so it now became much more clearer. It was the kind of mistake known as spherical aberration that an amateur astronomer might take. So this really was a serious problem. A handful of astronomers first recognized the problem. The engineers and contractors working for NASA at first didn't believe them. So like they did think that this was the actual problem, and then they were sorry to learn that the astronomers were right. So, but the astronomers proved to them that their own point of view was correct. For bright objects to see things clearly, astronomers could correct for the mistake with image processing software. So they will start to use some new softwares which will make or will have some sort of treatment or processing for the image. But for the blurry or faint parts of the universe, the Hubble needed glasses. That's why the Hubble still needed many things. NASA scientists let go of their heartbreak and worked to find a way to provide the correct lenses. So NASA scientists weren't stopped wasting the time of blaming themselves or having a harsh blaming for their own self. So they said that we need to work very hard and need to find some solution for the problem of the lenses and the blurring image and the image which are not crystal clear. So 3 years later, the Space Shuttle Endeavour and a repair crew led by Story, Musgrave, astronaut, pilot, surgeon, spacewalker, and Zig Gardner rode to the rescue. So after that, some people went to like to help, give them a helping hand and try to push them forward. In 5 tense days of spacewalks, they replaced the telescope main camera. They also installed tiny mirrors designed to correct the Hubble vision. So they start to find more and more solution for this um, problems. The rest of the universe snapped into clear focus, so the image started to become crystal clear, and NASA could stop holding its breath. The Hubble was the first big deal telescope of the Internet image, so they really was a gigantic achievement at this time. Its cosmic postcards captured the interest of the world. Trained on a patch of sky known as the Hubble Ultra Deep Field in 2010, the telescope's sharp eye found swarms of baby galaxies. So they started to explore more and more new galaxies and things. They crawled out of the prehistoric darkness as early as only 6 million years after the Big Bang, and it took one of the first visible light photos of a distant planet named Fulmult be orbiting its star. Perhaps its most iconic image is the pillars of creation. So this is was a gorgeous achievement for them at this time, and really they were very proud of that great task. The Popple recorded baby stars burning their way out of ancient-looking mountains of gas and dust in a starry nursery known as the Eagle Nebula. So they started to like explore even the small and the like baby stars, and in their process of being born out. These postcards caused some debate. So some people have different opinion. Some people were for, some people were against, etc. The Hubble camera records in black and white. Its filters separate light from different atoms, such as sulfur, hydrogen, and oxygen. Then the different layers are given whatever colors look good to the eye. These colors also best show off the underlying astrophysics rather than their natural colors. Pillars of creation, for example, is shown in earth tones of green and brown, is positioned to look like a Turner landscape. Instead, the natural discharge from the nebula are shades of red, so they have different colors. Technological hiccups have also continued in 1999 for of the six gyroscopes that keep the telescope point field. The Hubble went into safe mode. A crew was hastily sent to replace the gyros. That was the first of three trips to the telescope by John M. Grunsfeld. And Grunsfeld was an astronomer, and now NASA's Associate Administrator for Science. He won the nickname Hubble Repairman for his efforts, so this man really had the upper hand on the repairman process. The telescope has been reborn again and again over the years, thanks to the great extraordinary work of the astronaut servicing crews. Astronauts wearing what look like boxing gloves have gradually learned how to do things the telescope designers had never dared dream of. So the tasks, the mission they did were impossible to be achieved, but they made the impossible possible. Those tasks include fiddling with its insiders, replacing circuit boards, and performing a kind of eye surgery, as well as computer repairs, all done in space. The Hubble was getting better and better. Then the Columbia Space Shuttle exploded in 2003, killing all 7 astronauts on board. That signaled the end of NASA's space shuttle dream. So NASA really suffered a lot from these horrific disasters, and it would have led to the complete closure or stopping the tasks of NASA. But with the great ambitions and dreams of people, they went on and they never stopped, even today. The agency's administrator, CNO Kefis, canceled what was to be the final Hubble servicing mission because it was too risky. Without it, the telescope would be doomed to die in orbit within 2 or 3 years when its batteries and gyros failed again. So they had to do this work, but this work was so risky that's why they were thinking of canceling it. The decision was announced and defended by Dr. Grunsfield. He was the NASA's chief scientist. Being an astronaut, there are not a lot of things that have really shocked me in my life. Dr. Gransfield recalled later, but I don't think anybody could ever prepare themselves for, trying to parry something that they have said. Hey, this is worth risking my life for. So he believed in this task, and he was even ready to sacrifice his own life for the sake of achieving the dreams of people and reaching and helping the Hubble. Mr. Okafi's decision set off a national outcry, so people like were encouraging them to go on and not stop. School children offered to send their pennies to NASA to help pay for the telescope, so even school children were eager to support them. Behind the scenes, however, Dr. Gransfield and other astronomers and NASA engineers were working on ways to save the Hubble. So they were deeply thinking about how to save the Hubble. They thought they might send robots to work on it. A National Academy of Sciences panel turned down the use of robots, but the idea had served to keep the teams of engineers together. In the end, Mr. Okafor resigned. His replacement, Michael Griffin, restored a servicing mission, and he was eager to complete. In 2009, Dr. Grunsfeld led one last mission to the Hubble. He was the last human to touch the telescope. He baited it as the shuttle Atlantis prepared to let it go again. But that doesn't mean the telescope will no longer touch humanity. Instead, it continues to deliver news about this thing we are all part of a universe but barely understand. Earlier this spring, astronomers announced that the Hubble had seen a sort of cosmic mirage known as Einstein ring. This mirage allowed them to view multiple reruns of stars that died in a huge superstar explosion more than 9 billion years ago on the other side of the cosmos. NASA is making a big deal of the Hubble anniversary. There will be a week-long conference in Baltimore where the Space Telescope Science Institute is based. This is a celebration partly about the telescope and partly about NASA. So they combined the two purposes for having a celebration. Dr. Grassfield said, but much of it is a celebration of people doing science. So they were honoring the great people who were responsible for doing science in this part. The Hubble today is more powerful than its designers even dreamed, which is so great. It has a good chance of living long enough to share the universe with its successor, the James Webb Space Telescope, due to launch in 2018. The Hubble's long life is something few would have imagined 10 years ago. yet NASA is already planning a 30th anniversary celebration in 2020. Dr. Garsfield said. After a quarter century, the telescope's future and promise are still as big as the sky and our ignorance of what lies behind it. Okay, this is the reading passage. As usual, you will have a homework on the like. You have just to listen to this audio again and to read it yourself and to analyze it, and then answer the homework as a question. This question will be of paramount importance because like it will be a full summary for the details. And now we'll like watch another video for that Hubble, and then go back to the mission we are planning.
Galaxy, whose light took 13.4 billion years to reach us. It is a photograph of our universe in its infancy, a mere 3% of its current age.
All of a sudden now, you have a ringside seat to watch the entire universe evolve and change in front of you. All of that is down to the Hubble Space Telescope.
What could this mysterious red galaxy reveal about the origins of the cosmos? That story begins when the Hubble telescope is still on the drawing board.
Hubble was meant to solve a problem because people were trying to use ground-based telescopes to measure how fast the expansion of the universe was, and that means a factor of uncertainty in the age of the universe.
How and when did our universe begin? Solving that mystery would be an historic success at a time when the space program needs it most. In 1986, the nation is in mourning after the loss of 7 crew members aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger.
This is truly a national loss. The members of the Challenger crew were pioneers. We'll continue our quest in space. The future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave.
They needed something to get back into the game, and Hubble was sort of that big shining star. This was a big space telescope, and we're going to put this thing into orbit, and it's going to look at black holes, it's going to figure out where the universe came from, it's going to revolutionize astronomy.
In charge of this daunting mission is Charlie Pellerin.
The primary role of Hubble was to fix things after Challenger, to show we could still do hard things. I kept reminding myself of John Kennedy when he said, we choose to go to the moon, not because it's easy, because it's hard.
So I do recommend that you are kindly advised to watch this video to until the final words, and to explore and to watch more and more videos which are really appealing to your mind, heart, and would widen the scope of your knowledge. That's all. Thank you so much, and have a nice morning.